Hello everyone, welcome to today's session. So I hope you guys have gone through the discussions that have happened in the previous session. You guys have already read about the clauses that we discussed in the last session, and now you are ready with the sessions, the clauses that we will take up. Okay. First, before I proceed, any doubts with respect to the previous part or the things we have already discussed? Any doubt? No doubts. Okay, great. If no doubts, then I will ask some questions and then we'll proceed forward. Kind of a recap and quick recap of what we have discussed till now. Okay, quickly tell me one thing with respect to clause number 6. Can anyone tell me what is clause number 6 of part 1, first schedule? Clause number 6, part 1 of first schedule. Anyone? No? You guys haven't gone through the previous sessions or haven't read about?
A chartered accountant in practice shall be deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct if he solicits professional work either through circular, advertisement, write-up, uh, violating the guidelines of the council issued in this behalf.
Sorry, anyone with any other answer? I would like everyone to participate in this. This is for specifically for you. So please, what is clause 6, part 1? Very good, Kurunda, sorry. Okay, very good, Mega. Anyone else? No? Okay. So the clause talks about that if you solicit the client or professional work directly, indirectly, by circular, advertisement, personal communication, interview, or through by any other means, in that case, you will be held guilty of, deemed to be held guilty of professional misconduct. Yes or no? Okay. So that was the clause 6. Now, based on the clause 6, tell me one thing. Tell me one thing that can you apply to tenders? Or when can you apply to tenders? Quickly. Summary. Who can provide me a summary? When can you apply for tenders?
Sir, a tender can be applied if it is a common for all the professional. If it is exclusively for the chartered accountant, then he should not respond to it. See, if it is exclusively for the chartered accountant, if the tender is and the minimum fees is quoted by that in that advertisement, then in that case he can apply it.
Okay. Okay. Good, very good. Anyone else with anything further to add? Very good. Very good, Priya. Very good, Lavanya. Very good, Geet. Yes. Very good. Yes. Absolutely correct. Yes, sir. Absolutely correct. So there are two conditions for the tender. Number one, minimum fees. Number two, open for others. Okay, or open for others. Either it should have a minimum fees or it should be open for others. That's why I say it's or, not and. Remember that it should not be both. Sometimes we might write in exam that okay, minimum fees condition is not there. It is only for open for others. There, these two conditions should be satisfied. No, or. So either minimum fees or it should be areas open to other professionals. Then you can apply. Otherwise, you cannot apply. Clear? Okay. Now tell me one thing. One specific question I would like to ask is that if a arrangement, like if there is a partnership with a cost accountant who is a member of Institute of Cost and Works Accountants of India, partnership with a cost accountant member of Institute of Cost and Works Accountant of India. Okay. Now during that partnership, he is bringing work, and based on that work, I am paying some amount to him. So, is there any professional misconduct? I am paying an amount to a partner who is a cost accountant because he brought some professional work. Is there a professional misconduct? Yes or no? If yes, then why? If no, then also why? I need with reason why. Anyone? I need with reason why. Just not only yes or no. Specific reason why yes or no. Come on, guys, quickly.
Sir, answer is no, sir. As per the clause 6, it specifically says that he should not any chartered accountant from the applying or requesting for or inviting or any securing professional work from another chartered accountant in practice. Yeah, other than a chartered accountant.
Okay. Okay. Yes. Very good. Very good, Sanjay. Yes. Absolutely. So see, clause 2 says that you can pay to a member of any other professional body, a member of any other professional body recognized by, like council in this regard, which is Regulation 53A1, Institute of Cost and Works Accountants of India. If there is a member who is a cost accountant, member of this particular professional body, you can pay. That is within the purview of clause 2. Plus, partnership is also allowed by clause 4 because that is Regulation 53B, cost accountant member, and for partnership, yes or no? So, partnership is also allowed. Payment is also allowed. So, there is no misconduct in this particular scenario. So, whosoever has said not a misconduct, they are absolutely correct. There is a question, I think, but not permitted by clause 6. See, clause 6 is more onto advertisement, personal communication, interview, or by any other means. Now, if something is permissible in other clauses, like, clause number 5 or clause number 4, then it should not be a problem for clause number 6. Okay. Any other doubts? Any questions you guys have before we proceed to the next part? Any doubts? No? Okay, great. If no further doubts, let's proceed further and we start the discussion for today. That is with the clause number 8 of part 1, first schedule. That talks about that, clause 8 talks about that if a auditor, like CA in practice, accept the position as an auditor previously held by another chartered accountant, in that case, he has to communicate with him first in writing, then he can accept. Otherwise, he cannot accept. Okay. In that case, he will be held. Otherwise, he will be deemed to be held guilty of professional misconduct. Now, before I proceed in further discussion on clause number 8, remember I said there is no exception over here. Without communication, no exception, nothing. You have to communicate, you have to communicate, you have to communicate. There could be delay in certain scenarios, but that is not an exception, that you cannot go or bypass this particular requirement. Okay. So tell me one thing in this particular, if you have read, you will be aware of it. Okay. Which are the scenarios, like which type of auditors to which we are required to communicate? Like the clause says that, okay, you have to communicate like with the previously held position of the auditor. Like if there was any auditor, previous auditor, you need to communicate with that. Fine. In the Companies Act, we have a statutory auditor. We will communicate with that. Will you communicate with tax auditor? Will you communicate for the GST audit with the auditor in that? Will you communicate with the internal auditor? Which kind of auditors you have to communicate?
Sir, if it is internal audit, we need to communicate to the internal auditor, the previous internal auditor. And if it is statutory audit, we need to communicate with the statutory auditor. If it is a cost, if it is any other audit, see, relevant to only those auditor only, we need to communicate and get the clearance from them, NOC.
Okay. All auditors, okay. All auditors, very good. So you also said all auditors. I am getting a lot of answers from the all auditors. Now, we will discuss something with respect to that, with respect to the all auditors part. Okay. Now, what basically clause 8 talks about? Again, we will go to the clause 8. That's where we will understand like about the clause 8, what clause 8 says. Okay. Clause 8, if you look into, it says that if you accept a position, now who accepts the position? Who is a CA in practice? But if you accept a position as an auditor previously held by another chartered accountant, that is a very important part. Previously held by another chartered accountant. Now here the term which is used for accepting the position is nothing but the term auditor. So if you are accepting the position of the auditor, now which position? Which can be any position. Now the question comes is about the internal audit. Okay. Because you can accept the position as a GST auditor, you can accept the tax auditor, you can accept the statutory auditor. The question only comes with the internal auditor. I'll tell you why. Because internal auditors sometimes are employees of the company. Now here this clause talks about basically your CA in practice. Can a CA in practice be an internal auditor of a company? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anyone else with a different answer?
But when the same auditor is having the statutory auditor, then there is no. If it is only internal auditor, he can do the internal audit. There is no doubt about it.
Yep. So yes, CA in practice can be an internal auditor when they are outsourcing the internal audit function from the company. That is for sure. He can be, provided he is not holding, as you said, he is not holding both the positions together, like statutory audit plus internal audit. That is not something permissible. Now, over there, if you are accepting a position of the internal auditor, which is being outsourced to you, okay, in that case, if this position was already held by some other chartered accountant, you are required to communicate with him. So the term auditor will encompass all the types of audit, will include all the types of audit over here. Okay. And as a result, whosoever audit it is, if you are doing that audit, if you are an auditor over there, in that case, you are required to, communicate with that auditor. Even when you see the definition of, I'll take you for a minute to the definition of deemed to be in practice, section 2.2. Okay. If you see the definition of deemed to be in practice, for example, if you see the definition point number 3, which talks about renders professional service or assistance in about matter of principle or detail relating to accounting procedures, recording, presentation, certification of financial facts or data. Okay. So here, if you are like, if I talk about internal auditor, he's rendering professional service about recording, presentation, certification, or you can also cover him in the point number 2, that performs service involving audit, verification, okay, of transaction, books of account, record, or verification of certification of financial accounting. This definition does not restrict you that, okay, it should be under law as in statutory auditor. If you perform service of auditing as an internal auditor, that will also get covered in 2 and 3. So you are already part of deemed to be in practice if you are serving or if you are providing internal audit. Provided you should not provide to the being a statutory auditor, because that will be covered by section 144. This is section 144 service. So here contradiction will be there, or rather than contradiction, I will use the word, it is not permissible. For statutory auditor. Okay. But if you are not a statutory auditor, you are only providing internal audit service, you can do it as a CA in practice. That is well within the definition of deemed to be in practice also. So clause 8 basically requires you for communication for all type of auditors position. Okay. Where the previous position was held by chartered accountant. This is very important part. Previous position held by chartered accountant, another chartered accountant. Now, one more important point. This is not written as a chartered accountant in practice. There's a difference between both. Only chartered accountant is also fine. Means if the position of the internal auditor was held by a chartered accountant who was not in practice, still you are required to communicate with them. Clear?
Sir, I have one doubt. Say, even though CA in member, he is not eligible to put chartered accountant, the full detail, but he can put as a CA. When he has obtained a COP, certificate of practice, that only he is eligible to put as a designation as a chartered accountant. How the member can be in that situation, and that chartered accountants here, the class 8 accept a position as a auditor previously held by another chartered accountant. Chartered accountant meaning here, the designation is talked about only to the chartered accountant who is having the possession of the COP. He here not specifically given the member. Member, it's include both.
No, see. Here, when I talk about chartered accountant, that means a member only, because who are called chartered accountant? If you go to section, if I'm not wrong, section number 7, okay, of the CA Act, it specifically says members are known to be as a chartered accountant, and from there the requirement of the designation and everything comes. But the first line of the section 7 of the CA Act itself says that the member of the institute shall be known as a chartered accountant. So that is even if you read the heading of that particular section, it shows that member to be known as a chartered accountant. So here the term, if I take a reference of that section 7, the term chartered accountant means member of the institute. Clear? So if I have a member of institute as an internal auditor, he can be without being in practice. It is not something which is not allowed. He can be. Correct? So as a result, if I am accepting a position of an internal auditor which was held by another chartered accountant who was member of the institute, not in practice, I have to communicate with him.
Right, sir. However, when there is internal auditor is not a chartered accountant, they are not a member. The time for the courtesy purpose, can we communicate or not?
Okay. If he was not a chartered accountant, he was not a member of institute, it is not mandatory but recommendatory.
Yeah, even that company also can be appointed as a internal auditor.
Now, yeah. So I was about to come on that particular point. See, when I talk about internal auditor, okay, a company can be appointed as an internal auditor, but what happens is, in practical scenario, even if a company is appointed as an internal auditor, there is a term called chief internal auditor. Okay, even though I have outsourced everything to a company, but still, when I call, like when I prepare my internal audit mandate or all the documents or everything, over there I mention who is the chief internal auditor. I do not mention the name of the company, rather I mention the name of the person. At that point in time, if that chief internal auditor who is being appointed or who is acting as a chief internal auditor from the side of the company, if that is a chartered accountant, then yes, here we will be required to communicate.
Right, sir. Thank you. Healthy discussion.
Yep. So here, remember this particular term, we are talking about member. Member who may or may not be in practice. So not necessary he should be in practice. If it is the only chartered accountant, still I have to communicate to him in writing. And that too, I cannot accept the position without first communicating. So this is the prerequisite kind of thing. This requirement talks about without first communicating with him in writing. That talks about in the nature of prerequisite. That is, you are required to follow with this first, and then you go for something, appointment and everything. Now, second question comes is, what do you mean by communication? What do you mean by communication? Like what I mean by communication over here. Let's say, is it something that, okay, I have to send a letter to him? Or is it something beyond that?
In the communication, requesting him to address as to whether there is any professional reason for not accepting the assignment.
Okay. Now, in that regard only, I have one question that I want to discuss. Okay, and let's discuss that question, and accordingly, we will be able to understand more further on this. Wait a minute. um, give me a minute. Just sorry. Okay, yeah. So here is the question. So the question is that CAI was appointed as the statutory auditor of Messrs Forward Thinking Limited, a listed company for the financial year 24-25 at the annual general meeting held on September 30, 2024. The previous auditor, CA Prudence, was removed at the same meeting, means he was not appointed. Okay. Eager to commence the audit work to meet the reporting deadline, CA Agile immediately sent a letter by registered post to CA Prudence, informing her of his appointment, okay, and seeking to know if there were any professional reasons why he should not accept the appointment, with waiting for a reply or acknowledgement from CA Prudence. CA Agile basically started the audit planning and fieldwork very next day. When questioned by this engagement quality control review partner, CA Agile contended that this duty was limited to sending communication in writing and he was not required to wait for a response before starting the audit. In the context of the CA Act and its schedules, comment on the actions of CA Agile. So take a minute. I'll I have the full question in the picture. Take a minute, read the question, and then try to answer. Okay. So tell me, what do you think?
So, chartered accountant in practice who is guilty, deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct, as per the class 8 of the part 1 of the first schedule to the CA Act 1949. Before accepting the engagement, he should communicate to the previous auditor the position previously held. In this case, there are four possible way he can communicate. One is that he can send the communication via registered post acknowledgement due, or can he be hand over by on hand? He can get the acknowledgement, or there is based on the institute email address he can send it, and also another way that based on the website address, the email he can send it. This is the only four way of doing. In this case, he send only the registered post. The acknowledgement due is not there. So this is not a possible evidence of the communicating as per the class 8. Hence, he is guilty of professional misconduct.
Okay. Anyone else with a different answer? Any form of written communication inquiring, okay, the act is not correct as there is only compliance clause but necessary proper conduct. Okay. Okay, Megha. He is guilty as a requirement to communicate before accepting the word, with implies which two-way communication. Yes, absolutely correct. Very good, Pitambar. If after commencing the audit, if he receives reply from CA Prudence stating that something affecting his independence or interest, it can be affect his work. Very good, Mika. And absolutely correct with your answer. So the answer is like you provided right now, and the answers that we have received. Okay, students, it's absolutely correct. You are right. Now, when I talk about the requirement of the communication over here with him, now communication is a two-way communication by default. The term communication, which is two-way communication, and with him, that means I have to receive a response. So the term communication that I'm talking about has to be interpreted two-way. So this, you can say, two-way communication. It's not just one side I'm sending it. Communicating, that means is like, I have to send and I've received to back. That makes a communication. If you interpret the term communicating. Otherwise, it could have been informing, it could have been intimating. It is not the case. You are not intimating, you are not informing, you are communicating. That means you are receiving a response back from him. Until the time that is not complete, you cannot accept the position. Okay. Now, there are ways to communicate. That is also we need to understand. There are ways to the communicate. That means like to demonstrate that the communication has happened. For that, I would request everyone to come on to the page number 19.65. Over there, we will mark something that is known as positive evidence of the delivery. Positive evidence of the delivery. That you have to communicate in a manner where you have the positive evidence of the delivery. That means you have to send the letter in a way that demonstrate, and you have the evidence to demonstrate that okay, there was a delivery. It should not be the case, okay, I sent the letter and I have not received any response, I don't know what happened. But do you have the proof that you send the letter? Like for the two-way communication, let's say you did your part and you are waiting the response, or you never received the response even after sending 2 3 times. In that case, you have to demonstrate that I sent my part, I did my part, but I did not receive any response. So communication with the positive response is required. Number one, how you can do it? You can do it by the way of sending the letter through registered acknowledgement due. Can anyone tell me what is registered acknowledgement due? If you guys have ever heard about or seen this particular part, what is registered acknowledgement due?
The acknowledged copy by the receiver is sent back to the sender.
Okay.
Yeah, he will. Yeah,
Yes, very good. Very good.
that is a proof of delivery. That is evidence we can that the incoming auditor can keep it on record.
Yes. So registered acknowledgement due, that means you get a acknowledgement that it was basically delivered. Okay. So if you have a registered acknowledgement due, if you have a evidence, if you have sent the letter through that, you will receive that okay, that letter was delivered or not, or if it was delivered, to whom it was delivered.
Yes, sir. In the same way that the money order, whenever we are sending the money order, there is an acknowledgement receipt will be there. It will
Yeah.
come back to us whenever we send the money order.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. So by this way, you basically get an in detail, and you get some information that whether it was received or it was like someone received it or not. Okay, so that is the first part. That is registered acknowledgement due. Second is by hand with a written acknowledgement. Now, when you are delivering by hand, you have to show a written acknowledgement that you delivered that. Okay, so that is a written acknowledgement that you need to obtain for the hand delivery, because at the end I need acknowledgement anyhow. It's not something I cannot just leave without acknowledgement. So I need the acknowledgement. So if I'm delivering by hand, then written acknowledgement. Third, acknowledgement of the communication from the retiring auditor via email is also fine. Okay, acknowledgement of communication from retiring auditor via email, but the email should be last known official email address, or the email address which is there in the institute's record. Plus, you need to use UDIN for that communication. You need to generate UDIN also to demonstrate all this thing has been done. All these things have been performed. So UDIN for the communication plus all these things. Then only it can be counted that it was a positive delivery. You had the positive delivery. Without which, communication from your side, communication from your part is incomplete. Okay. Any doubt with this? Any doubt? Okay. Now, if you see further, that is only one side of the communication. That is our part. What about the other side? What about the, like, what if we do not get the response? And what if we get the response? We need to evaluate both of the answers. First of all, we will talk about what if we do not get the response. What you will do if you have not received the response, then in that case, like, you have done your part. You have you have sent the letter through registered acknowledgement due. It got delivered, or it was by hand, or it was like like through any other means where you have the evidence. So it was delivered, it is within the guidelines, and you have done your part. Now what? You have not received any reply. What you will do? Anyone?
Sorry, even though when we send that registered post, even we not received the response from him, the acknowledgement due, that itself is a positive delivery, which means we communicated to him.
Okay. Yes, absolutely correct. You communicated. But tell me one thing, would you, once you receive that acknowledgement due, will you start immediately the audit?
If not replied within reasonable time, then we can proceed.
Yes, absolutely correct. So we have to
Yes,
wait
sir.
for a reasonable time that we have specified in the letter itself. When you do a communication, you specify a time that request you to please reply within that time frame. Okay. And
But the thing is that what is reasonable time is not mentioned in this provision, sir.
yes, that is there. As of now, reasonable time is not there, not defined. It is something which is up to professional judgment. But see, as usual, if I talk about what is the reasonable time frame, is somewhere around 1 2 weeks is given. If like if the auditor is within the same city, if it is a different city, then considering the distance and everything, you have to extend the time. Okay, so distance is very important when you consider the reasonable time frame. That is the practicality I'm telling about. Let's say I am sitting somewhere in the southern states, and the auditor is there somewhere in the hilly areas of the northern states. In that case, I cannot expect him to reply within a week. So I may have to consider the reasonable time frame accordingly.
Correct,
But
sir.
so that is one of the area, and that is also here. So if you come on the page number 19.65, it says that it may not create a deadlock. The appointed auditor can act after waiting for a reasonable time for reply. If you do not receive, then it is, after reasonable time, you can act, not an issue. Now, but let's say, for example, you, like, that auditor replied back. Auditor said that, okay, I am not, okay with your appointment. Now, fine, he cannot be okay with the appointment. Perfectly fine. But you need to understand the root cause of that not being okay. There can be two scenarios where, if there is he is not okay, then you should not proceed. Only two scenarios. Number one, non-payment of undisputed audit fees. Non-payment of undisputed audit fees. If that is the reason that he is not okay, then in that case you should not proceed. Second, he is being removed because he was issuing a qualified opinion. In that case, if you accept, you will be deemed to be held guilty of professional misconduct. You should not accept. However, okay, if let's say, for example, if there is an issuance of qualified report and he is being removed and there is a dispute on certain matters, okay, with respect to the qualified report and everything, the requirement is just to understand and try to get resolve that dispute if that is there. Because see, when it comes to the qualified opinion or issuance of a qualified opinion, it depends upon the type of qualified opinion, the matter, and everything. So it requires a lot of understanding of the matter, discussion with them, and then on the basis of that, you are required to ask them, okay, let's find a middle way to get the things closed. But when it is the undisputed statutory audit fees, like undisputed audit fees which are there, in that case, uh, there is no any other option available. Pay the fees, ask the client or the company to pay the fees, then only you accept the appointment. I'm talking about undisputed. Now, how can you say it is an undisputed? How can you say that it was undisputed?
Sorry, if it is a sick unit, then in that situation, it is not a disputed cases. In such situation, it is a genuine nature, so that the auditor can be accepted.
No, but is there any criteria to call it an undisputed audit fees? Like apart from the 6 unit, I'm talking about normal company. Okay, I'll tell you. There are two things which can, classify as an undisputed when it comes to the audit fees. Number one, the financial statements that were approved and signed by the management. Absolutely correct, Sanjay. Over there, you had the provision for the audit fees that was aligned with the engagement letter that was signed. That means you acknowledge that this is the audit fees that is required to be paid to the audit engagement letter. If at either by signing the financial statement, and if you not, then you cannot accept. Okay. So these are the two things, two scenarios where we usually talk about you cannot accept. Also, there is one more scenario where you cannot accept, where that is clause number 9. So clause number 8 is subject to clause number 9. Always remember. So accepting the position of an auditor is not only related to the communication, it is also related to the compliance with the provisions of law. So we will discuss the provisions of law in clause number 9. But as of now, only understand clause number 8. Okay. Then in that case, next is, for example, there are certain scenarios that have been discussed in your study material also, which is very important. We'll go through with them quickly. For example, premises found locked. If your acknowledgement due, or if you have, that post which is there with the acknowledgement due, and over there it is written, premises has been found locked, it is deemed to be delivered. Provided your address that you have used is the last known official address. Okay. So if you have used the last known official address and over there the office was found locked, it is deemed to be delivered. Second, when I talk about with respect to not address not found. Again, in that case, your address was the address registered with the institute. If yes, or the last official address which was known for them. If yes, then it will be deemed to be delivered. I actually don't need any further evidence for the delivery. It will be deemed to be delivered. Okay. Special audit under income tax. Like as I told you, all the auditors are covered. Communication with all type of auditors are covered, where there is a charter accountant, that is already being discussed. Communication in case of other assignment, in case of assignment done by other professionals, not a charter accountant. Over there, healthy practice to communicate, that is recommendatory, not mandatory. Now there is one area that I was talking about. There we can afford a delay, we can take some more time, but that is not exception, and that is specifically the government audits. See, in government audits, you have a very less time to start the audit and complete the audit because of the the nature of the assignment itself. In that case, you can start the audit subject to the this communication. Let's say, for example, what you will do, you will accept the appointment, but you will specify that I am accepting the appointment, but my appointment acceptance is subject to the reply that I will receive from the outgoing auditor. If he will give me satisfactory response, I will proceed further. Otherwise, in the between, I will stop the audit. So you kind of provide conditional acceptance. Okay. That is subject to the communication that you will receive from the previous auditor. If everything fine, you go ahead with the audit. Otherwise, stop it. I cannot proceed further. So here we take some more time, that we start the audit first and then we communicate. But bypassing the requirement of the communication is not there anywhere. Understand that. And only related to the government audits, not any other audits. Clear?
Sir, I have one question on, see, in this case, the professional reason not for accepting the audit would be the non-payment of undistributed fee or non-compliance of provision of 139, 140, the issuance of a qualified report. I am having the question on issuance of a qualified report. In
Yes.
that case, such where there is a, in the client company, where there is a modified opinion required to be issued, in that case, the management is not ready to accept the situation. They are asking us to issue the qualified report by the previous auditor. Is that a situation or a different situation, sir?
See, the situation is that in the issuance of the qualified report, is it the because he was issuing a qualified report, that's why the management is removing him? Or he is being removed because that his attitude or his conduct was not proper? There's a difference in between both. Let's say I did the audit, I have the audit documentation to demonstrate that the audit which was done, under that I identified the misstatement which is material in nature. I communicated as per SA 260, SA 265. I asked the management to rectify the financial statement. Management denied it, or management is not responding, and hence I am left with no choice apart from issuance of a qualified report. If I'm being removed as an auditor, sorry, the new auditor cannot accept. Second, let's say there was a dispute with respect to some of the valuation things. There are a lot many complex scenarios where valuation becomes a very important. Valuation of plant and machinery, valuation of inventory. Okay. Now let's say talk about impairment testing of a plant and machinery, of a cash generating unit, or whatever you want to say. Now during impairment testing, what happened is auditor took certain assumptions. Management took different assumptions. Both have a different answer. Now auditor is adamant, he's fixed on his assumptions. He's not ready to change his assumptions, and he's saying that okay, the difference in the outcome of his assessment and the management's assessment is a misstatement. Now he does not have appropriate details to justify that the management assumptions are incorrect or inappropriate in the current scenario. But still, okay, in that particular scenario, why management will refuse? Why when management will rectify the financial statement when you could not present a detailed outcome or detailed information to substantiate that management's estimates or assumptions are incorrect? In that case, if that is a dispute, the auditor was issuing a qualified opinion, qualified report, management is not happy with the way the auditor is working, it is a secondary thing. Over there, it is a problem with the auditor. Attitude of the returning auditor was not proper and justified, and accordingly, we need to understand that particular scenario. We need to, document that, and then we need to proceed accordingly.
Right, sir. Fine, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Now the question, there is one question. Here the term which is used as an assignment, okay, not as an audit. Does that include any certification also? See, I would not say that, because here we are talking about position of the auditor. If you read the clause itself, it talks about accept as a position of an auditor. Okay. Why assignment is being used is sometimes auditor also, issue audit report under a certificate in some of the specific, very specific scenario where the auditor issue a certificate. Okay, you are appointed as an auditor to issue a certificate. Very specific, very selected scenarios are there. For that only the word assignment is used. Otherwise, you can understand it's an audit. Any other questions? Anyone else? Let's take up one question, a question which is there in your study material, because these questions are really good and important for your understanding. Don't see the answer. I know you have the study material, but don't go through the answer. Let's first solve it here and then you can go to the answer. Mr. X, a chartered accountant, accepts his appointment as a tax auditor of a firm under Section 44AB of Income Tax Act and commence the tax audit within 2 days of his appointment, since the client was in a hurry to file the return of income before the due date. After commencing the audit, Mr. X realized his mistakes of accepting this tax audit without sending the communication to the previous tax auditor. In order to rectify his mistake, before signing the tax audit report, he sent a registered post to the previous auditor and obtained the postal acknowledgement. Will Mr. X be held guilty under the Chartered Accountants Act? Pretty much straightforward, easy, after what we have discussed. If you have paid attention to our discussion, pretty much easy to answer. Quickly.
Yes, he'll be.
Sir, it is a basic criteria that he has to communicate to the previous auditor, who is a chartered accountant, and before accepting any audit engagement. In this case, he is accepted. He is about to complete the audit work, and that time he realized later. Then he communicated, but it is not acceptable, sir.
Okay, very good. Anyone else with a different answer? Very good, Sandeep. Very good, Geet. Yes, Khushi, very good. Anyone else with a different answer? Okay, very good, Mega. Very good, Priya. Yes, Lavana, very good. Very good, Saurabh. I hope you guys have not gone through the answer and you are giving based on your understanding. If that is the case, then it is very good. All of you have given the correct answer. That is, yes, he's guilty of professional misconduct. That whatever we have discussed based on that. Okay, straightforward, pretty simple, no difficult. Okay, now let's move forward to the next clause. What is the next clause? Clause number 9. Quickly, what is the clause number 9? Clause number 9.
Accept that appointment without ascertaining the Companies Act section 139 and 140 of the Companies Act.
Yes. Okay. Anyone else with any different answer? Good. Okay. Is it only 139 and 140?
141 also there, sir.
Okay. Okay. You guys are absolutely correct. It's about accepting the appointment of the auditor, okay, of a company without first ascertaining the requirements of section 139, 140. Now, why 141 also? I'll tell you a reason. There are two reasons for having 141 in the picture. See, so basically the clause talks about, usually if you see the clause was designed in the way of old section 225 of the Companies Act 1956. Now the new act, new sections with respect to 225 is 139 to 140. So 225 was divided into two, which now became 139 and 140. But why I'm saying 141 also? The reason of that particular scenario, or the reason lies under these two sections only. Okay. When I talk about 139, appointment of the auditor, 139, subsection 1. Okay. So I'll write it here. Section 139, subsection 1. And it has, I think, second proviso. Yeah. second proviso to the section 139 subsection 1, which talks about that the auditor has to satisfy the criteria of 141. Okay, satisfy criteria of section 141. That means in order to comply 139, you have to comply 141. That means that 139, 140, 141, all three are required to be complied. It's not only 139 and 140, it's 141 also. Okay, so everywhere you will read about 139, 140, 139, 140, but 141 as of now is hidden within it because of the section 139.1, which says that you have to satisfy 141. So you have to also comply with 141 in order to comply with that. So if you accept the appointment without, now that is the part we need to understand, without first ascertaining, okay, without first ascertaining whether the requirements of the particular section have been duly complied with or not, in that case you will be deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct. So again, a prerequisite, the way we have for the communication, same way we have here also. What is the requirement of appointment of auditor? Like if you want to appoint an auditor, let's say you have a company, you want to appoint the auditor for the subsequent years, not for the first year I'm talking about, for the subsequent years, what is the provision? Like what is the procedure? As an auditor, you should also be aware, like what is the procedure to appoint an auditor? Otherwise, how will you check whether it has been complied with or not? Quickly, what is the procedure to appoint an auditor? Subsequent auditor. I'm not talking about first auditor. I'm not talking about government company. Quickly. What is the procedure?
Auditor shall be appointed in first first AGM.
Or subsequent AGM, because I'm talking about subsequent AGMs.
Yes.
Like subsequent appointment, yes. So what is the procedure? Just summary. I just want summary. I don't want a detailed procedure. Just summary will also do.
Sir, first of the auditor can be, the term will be the 5 years, sir. Subsequent terms, it will be for another 5 years, 10 years totally. 2 terms it is allowed. After the two terms, there will be a cooling period of 3 years.
Yes, absolutely correct. Okay.
These are things. Suppose if the retiring audit, if the auditor, we need to check, see whether the auditor is having the continuous periodly is obtained. If say example 15 years is continually he was there, then definitely not complied with the provision.
Okay. Yes. Very good. What else?
Before appointment, auditor should check whether he is eligible or not. The eligibility.
If I ask about the summary procedure, like step by step, how the auditor is appointed? No?
The first auditor will be appointed in 30 days, sir, I believe.
First auditor in 30 days. Okay, very good. Okay. Apart from that, anything you know about, okay, like other appointments or other things? Okay, I'll show you a summary. Don't worry on that. Let me show you a summary so that you guys can understand like how auditor is appointed. Okay. If you see, basically,
So
now,
procedure in the sense, board of committee or audit committee recommendation.
yeah. So if it is other than the government company, so you have to follow the rule 3 procedure, which are there for the rules in the rules. Okay. Now in that case, what is scenario is appointment is either done by the appointment is required. Board of directors or the committee has to consider the qualification of the auditor. That is done. Okay. He can hold the office from the first stage. And second is a certificate. Now, what is the written consent? Written consent that he's ready to get appointed for the or position of the auditor. Generally, how happens is when Rule 3 is followed, when the board audit committee considers the qualification of the auditor, they send a proposal. If they have finalized a name, they will send a proposal that okay, we propose that you should be appointed as an auditor in the AGM. Please provide your written consent based on which we will propose your name to the members in the AGM. Without the consent, they do not proceed further. So once they receive the consent and a certificate that he is, not disqualified under section 141. So once these two things are received, okay, then the name is being proceeded further. He is appointed in the AGM, and then the filing and everything happens. Now, for example, if I talk about within that whole scenario before this appointment and everything, before you provide the written consent, before you provide, your acceptance for the appointment, you usually ask that we need to communicate to the previous auditor before we provide consent to you, or they directly say that if you want to communicate, you can communicate. If not, then you ask the permission to communicate, and accordingly you communicate with the previous auditor. If everything goes good, you get the information, you get an NOC, provide the written consent, and the procedure goes on. This is how basically an auditor is appointed. Practically, I'm talking about step by step.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So when you do give a written consent at that point in time, only the requirement of the communication comes into the picture, because it is being proposed, you are being appointed, and we have to do communication before being appointed. It is not something after. If I give a written consent, that means I am accepting the proposal of being appointed. Before that, I need to communicate. Okay. Then here, this is the whole procedure that you are required to check for the appointment. And if you have not checked the requirements over here, in that case, you will be held guilty of professional misconduct.
Sir, while giving the auditor giving the consent letter, is that any indebtedness is there in that company? That also you need to, whether he is relative or somebody else, he has possession of the shares also, whether we need to check that?
Yes. So
I think
basically, as I told you, there are two things. One is a consent, one is a certificate. Certificate, that means you are eligible to get appointed as an under section 141. So you don't, attract any disability under 141. That's why I said when you check the compliance of 139, automatically 141 comes into the picture.
and also disability is talk about section 8 also is there in our company, the Chartered Accountant Act. Disabilities.
Yeah, that is disability with respect to being a member. That is being a member. So that is a disability for with respect to being a member of the institute, correct? So if you are
Yeah.
any of the condition in that, so anything you are saying?
No, sir. I am saying that what is the indebted value is 1 lakh or 5 lakhs, sir, now? What is the limit now?
It's 1 lakh only. If I'm not wrong, it is the 1 lakh under 141. For the relative,
Okay.
no? You're talking about,
For,
sorry, for the relative.
yeah, for the relative as well as the when that auditor is holding the shares, what is the value? Indebtedness, any loan also is there, no?
See, for the purpose of shares, is the face value that is there, 1 lakh rupees. Okay. The face value is 1 lakh rupees for the purpose of shares.
Loan means? Loan
For the
also 1 lakh.
purpose of indebtedness, it is 5 lakh rupees.
Okay. For the shares is 1 lakh.
For shares, it is 1 lakh. For the indebtedness, it is 5 lakh.
Okay. If he cleared before accepting.
Before accepting. Now again, see, in that case, you need to we need to understand when it was cleared, and still there are lot many scenarios, because it may still raise a question on the independence and objectivity, your fundamental principle. So that is something we need to understand in that scenario. It is not that easy, but yeah, as far as the requirement of the section is concerned, it is satisfied, because at the time of accepting the appointment or during the your position as as an auditor, you should not attract any of the disqualification.
Right, sir.
Any other questions? No? Okay. I think there are questions. Notice to be issued to all members for resolution, even to retiring auditor. Yes, yes, it's there. Yeah. Then okay, no questions. Fine. Okay. Written consent from auditor. Yes, very good, Sandeep. Yes. Okay. So if no further questions, so basically that was clause 9 that I was talking about. Okay, we were discussing on, and like this is the procedure that you need to comply and you need to follow to check with the requirements. Once you check the requirements, then you can accept the position as an auditor. Otherwise, you cannot. That's the prerequisites. And even in your study material, you have that particular description of the section, like what is the procedure followed by the company is given below. So you can go through this procedure. It is very important. Okay, and it will give you a clarity like how and what happens, that what we discussed. Okay. It also includes when it is a general vacancy, a casual vacancy, when it is appointment for the other than the retiring auditor. So a lot of things are discussed. It's very important for you guys to go through the procedure. But at the end, the crux is you have to check the compliance of 139 and 140 and 141. That is like end of the matter. If you do not, you will be held guilty of professional misconduct. Okay. So over there, it comes the requirement of the notice also. If there is a special notice required because you are not appointing the retiring auditor, you are appointing someone else. All these things in all that sections comes into the place. Okay. Now that was your clause number 9. Now let's go to the next clause, which is clause number 10. Can anyone tell me what is clause 10? Clause 10, quickly. What is clause 10? Anyone? Quickly, what is clause 10? Am I not audible?
Sir, here charging the fees are based on the percentage of the profit or contingent upon the findings or result of such employment. Here that professional guilty will be there, sir. There are some charges or they can accept as a percentage of fees as well.
Okay.
As per regulation 192.
Okay. Anyone else with anything, any different answer or anything further to add? Very good, Geet. Okay, very good, Lavanya. Very good. Yes, Pitambar, very good. Okay. Now, we will discuss this particular clause with an example, because we will be able to understand in much more detail if we take an example for that. Okay. So most of you have already given the answer, which is correct. It's not that the scenario that answer is not correct. Answer is correct, appropriately correct. Okay. Let's go but and discuss the question, and on the basis of that, we will discuss the answer and the particular clause number 10. Okay. So, just a minute. Sorry. Yeah. So, let me share the question. It's sorry taking time bit. Sometimes it takes. Sorry. Yeah, it's working now. Sorry. So the question is, Messrs. Reliable Certifiers, a firm of chartered accountants, was engaged by Innovate Robotics Limited, a company seeking to raise funds for a major project expansion. The scope of the engagement was to conduct a due diligence review, to prepare a certified project report to be submitted to the consortium of banks for a long-term loan of 100 crores. The terms of the engagement stipulated by the partners, Messrs. Reliable Certifiers, include a fee structure as follows: an initial fixed fee of 5 lakh payable upon signing the engagement letter, an initial performance fee of 2.5% of the loan amount sanctioned by the bank, payable only if the loan is approved and disbursed on the firm's certified project report. The partners of the firms justified this fee structure by stating that it aligns with the firm's interest with the client's success and represents a modern value-based pricing model. With reference to the CA Act and its schedules, you are required to examine the validity of the free arrangement accepted by Messrs. Reliable Certifiers. So go through this question, take a minute, read it again, and then tell me the answer. Come on, guys. What do you think? Is it what is the scenario with respect to this fee arrangement?
Sir, as per class 10, there is a restriction on fees is given that certain fundraising services, the percentage of fees is allowed. But I am not sure whether in this case is allowed or not. I am not sure aware, sir.
That's why, yeah. See, okay. Now, again, we will discuss this clause with this example because this will, help us to understand the clause in detail. The fee arrangement is not acceptable as the auditor may place their interest as the priority and not give true and fair project report. Hence, this misconduct under clause 10. Okay. So one of the answer, it's a misconduct. Second answer covers only professional employment and should not have contingent. So second answer is also misconduct. Okay. Acceptance of fee raising as permitted under 192, therefore valid. So that someone is saying valid, very good. Okay. Not allowed, can manipulate. Okay. The fee arrangement is invalid, certified will be held guilty. Okay. So some of you are saying valid, some of you are saying not valid. Okay. Now the answer to this question we will discuss with respect to the clause itself, because there are two things that I want to explain you in detail over here. Okay, so let's go to the clause. What clause talks about? Clause 10. Clause 10 talks about that if you charge, I'm talking about CA in practice. If you charge, offer to charge, accept, offer to accept in respect of any professional employment fees. Now, this is very important. Have I mentioned audit? No. Have I mentioned certificate? No. Have I mentioned any kind of assurance service term? No. I have used the term professional employment fees. But there is something I will add up a star mark to this. Conditions apply. We will discuss. If you are able to do cost optimization, so then it is fine. If it is permitted under regulation, then it is fine. Now, what is permitted under regulation? That is being given by your regulation 192. Regulation 192 talks about, okay, there are certain scenarios where you can do this. And what is that scenario? Let's understand. So come on to page number 19.76. So next, 192 talks about restrictions on charging or offer to charge professional fees of the professional work contingent upon future finding that we were discussed. Subject to, provided that this is allowed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I think 7. Sorry, 8. So these 8s are allowed. Basically, here this is fine. If you provide any of the service, perfectly fine. So I will highlight this as a part. Like, okay. So I will write it down. Allowed. Okay. Perfectly allowed. Not an issue. Now, coming to this particular part, what are these? In case of a liquidator, we need to understand all these scenarios. If it is a receiver or a liquidator, he can do percentage of realization or disbursements. If it is the auditor of cooperative society, then working capital, gross or net income or profits, paid up capital, everything is fine. Percentage based on that is fine. If he is a valuer, percentage based on property valued, fine. Now, valuer for the purpose of direct taxes and duties, not any other valuer. So, certain management consultancy services where it is some based on the particular scenario. Now, here these are the two type of services which are allowed. I will discuss those services in a while, but certain management consultancy services as of now. Then you have certain fundraising services where you have a percentage of fund raised. You have a debt recovery services where you have percentage of debt recovered, and you have a cost optimization where you have a percentage based on benefit derived. And any other service of audit as may be decided by the council. Any other service or audit as may be decided by the council. Okay. Now, point number D, in case of certain management consultancy service as may be decided by the resolution, or the fees may be based on percentage upon the contingent finding or results. This is something as of now not being, any of the resolution has not been passed by the council for this particular D clause, but there are certain, resolution passed for the H clause. Okay. So here, when I talk about certain management consultancy services, over here, as of now, no resolution passed. But when I talk about H clause, that is other service or audit, over there are two particular services which are classified: insolvency professional, non-assurance service to the non-audit clients. That means if this professional employment fees, that asterisk mark, if I talk about this, if it is pertaining to regulation 192 or non assurance service to non-audit clients. If that is the case, then I will write allowed, not part of the professional fees. So in summary, I will write then not part of professional employment fees. Now, when I talk about non-assurance services to non-audit client, that can I say it is the management consultancy services to the non-audit client? Yes or no?
Yes, sir. We can
Management
say that.
consultancy services to the non-audit client. If
Yes,
I
sir.
am providing any non-assurance service or management consultancy service where I'm not giving any assurance and it is a non-audit client, in that case, I can charge whatever I want to charge. Now, coming back to our question that we were discussing.
But in that question, that whether that auditor has that the statutory auditor is not, that situation is not very clearly mentioned it.
So over there, I have a certified project report. That means you are giving any kind of assurance over here. Certified audit report, yes or no?
Yes, sir. Assurance will be there.
Assurance will be there. Certified audit
Yeah.
report.
Yes,
There is
sir.
a standard also. Which standard? If you have read something before, gone through something, there is a standard. Yes or no? Who can tell me?
Is project report. Is SA 800.
SA
Not
800.
a,
Okay. Anyone else? Any other standard that you refer to? Any other standard for project report? Very good, Sandeep. It is. We will see in one of the chapter, we will talk about SAE 3400. That is examination of prospective financial information. Now, SAE talks about standards on assurance engagement. There is certain kind of assurance involved in this. If this certified project report is issued, like usually it is issued under SAE 3400, in that case, yes, there is some assurance. So I cannot say this is non-assurance service. This is an assurance service. Now to classify for me, either it has to be 192 services, regulation 192 services, or a non-assurance service to a non-audit client. If it is an assurance service, even to non-audit client, not allowed. So in nutshell, if I talk about over here, let's talk about service. First, I'll talk about assurance service. Irrespective of the client, percentage based fee. Assurance service, no percentage based fee. Okay. Now I'm talking about here. I'm not as of now covering for the regulation 192 services. Over there, you have a cooperative society audit also. Okay. If you see point number B, it is the auditor of a cooperative society. It is an assurance service as of now. So I'm not covering 192. So I will write here apart from 192. But let's say it is an non-assurance service. Now here I need to check the client. If it is non-audit, good to go. If it is audit client, sorry. If it is audit client, again the scenario will be this one. No percentage based fees apart from regulation 192. Simple. So here, if it is an assurance service, irrespective of the type of the client, I cannot proceed. Now here you have a 0.25% of the loan amount sanctioned by the bank. Okay, so 2.5% percentage of loan amount sanctioned by the bank. Is it justifiable now? What do you think? Is it justifiable?
Yes, sir. Here that certified project report is the key words on this case.
Yes. Okay. So if this is a certified services assurance service under SAE 3400 in that case, it is not allowed. Clear? Clear with the clause also?
Sir, class is clear, but the restriction on fee, what are that certain fundraising services which they can charge as percentage of fees? What are those items, sir?
Fundraising is something different, not as of now, I would say part of the loan part. Like here, fundraising services you are providing, like the services of fundraising. Here the services of certified project report, like you are doing a due diligence and your service you are providing at the end is certified project report. Both are different. When I talk about fundraising service, I basically, it's kind of a management consultancy service where I'm not giving assurance, I'm helping them in raising the funds. Okay, I may bring the investors, I coordinate with the investors, I like something like that. I for them, pitch on to the investors, something like that. Here I'm certifying. It is not fundraising services. I hope I'm clear.
Yes, sir. You mean to say that the mediator of that helping the land sale or building sale of the client like that? Fundraising?
No, no. Fundraising is altogether different. I would say fundraising is more complex. Like, and fundraising services are kind of, there are two type of fundraising services basically for a general information. One, usually it happens for the NGOs. They want to raise the funds. Like majorly fundraising services happen for the NGO. Like if they want to raise the fund for any of the plan and any of the that program which is there, then this kind of services are provided to non-profit and charitable organizations. But if I talk about in the parlance of the profitable or non, like like commercial organization, over there it may be with respect to investors. Apart from that, very other scenario where can you can say this is a fundraising service. 90% or I would say 80% of the fundraising services are kind for the non-profit organizations. 20% is also for them, like startups and the where you want to bring investors and everything. Pitambar, it's a question or it's a discussion for another topic. I will not take this as of now, but this is just an example. Any other doubt, guys? Any other doubt? Any other question? Does IPO, FPO count in fundraising services? Uh, See, Sanjay, in that case, what role you are playing, it depends upon that. IPO, FPO is not one particular, like service that you provide. Either you can be consultant to an issue or a lot of things or a lot of different roles are there that totally depends upon them, what you call and how it, package that particular service. But again, those services are not assurance services. Over there, do you like in fundraising services, you don't sign anything. You don't provide any certificate or assurance. I hope I'm clear, Sanjay.
Sir, you mean to say that without giving the certificate or any assurance, when we are providing our services, we can charge as a percentage of fees. That is what you are coming to say on this, sir?
Yeah, like if it is a non-assurance service to a non-audit client, you can charge any amount. Like you can charge percentage also.
Even that point also is applicable only for non-audit client only. For client
192,
audit,
see, 192 is also applicable to the audit clients. Now the question is, can you provide a fundraising service to an audit client? That's another question or debate where it comes, other provisions of the law and regulation into the picture. Most probably you cannot. But let's say, for example, somewhere it is allowed, then you are allowed to charge for the percentage of fund based.
sir, if the question asked in the examination, asking that there is a client audit, audit client, the fundraising services, whether that is a guilty or not guilty.
Is it about the fees or is it about providing the service?
Yeah, providing the service by percentage of the fund raised. It is very specifically mentioned on that. So that's what I'm asking. If the client is a audit client, in regulation 192 also is giving some restriction is there provided. In case of the certain fundraising activity for the client, we are providing to it. Whether can we charge as a percentage of the charge on the fund raised? Is it guilty or not guilty, sir? That's what I'm asking. How to respond to the question?
So if it is the audit client where you are assuming you are permitted to provide the fundraising service, in that case, if you are charging percentage based on the fund raised, perfectly fine.
Sir,
The
there is
cost,
one question, but won't this be just a discussion? Won't this be hit by Section 144?
that's why
Which,
I'm saying. See,
which
that's why I'm
says
saying.
कि कोई investment banking service नहीं है. Investment banking service मतलब is
Yeah,
like मतलब won't it be hit there? Just
that's why I'm saying permissibility of the services is another question that is required to be checked for the laws and regulations that are applicable. Let's say, for example, a listed entity. Not only Section 144 of the Companies Act will be coming into the picture, there will be other SEBI, LODR regulations also. So, again, if it is a bank, then banking regulation, a lot of things are there. Whether the service is allowed or not allowed is a separate topic. I'm saying, assuming the service is allowed, then you can charge percentage of the fund based. Any other doubts? A simple example, if I give you, let's say it's an NBFC. Now, NBFC is not only restricted by the Section 144 of the Companies Act, you have to go through the RBI directions also. Being an auditor, we will see RBI directions and the RBI additional reporting norms. Over there, if there is any restriction that will apply, whether you can provide that service or not, that is required to be seen. But apart from that, can you charge? If permissible, answer is yes. Simple example, point number B over here, where the auditor of cooperative society. He is the auditor doing the audit. He can charge percentage of paid up capital, working capital, gross or net income or profits.
so
Simple.
one thing, if you can just look into, suppose in these kind of services which we are discussing, if we go back to the fundamental principles, so their self-advocacy threats, isn't it linked also here? Because once we are involved into fundraising, so they are advocating for that client. Okay, you can provide fund this to this client. He's safe and so. So won't that be again hit?
So that's why I'm saying, by if I talk about fundamental principles alone, okay, yes, there will be a threat to fundamental principles, but in the 99% cases, if I talk about these things, being a valuer, fundraiser, debt recovery, cost optimization, okay, already there are provisions in picture where you most probably you will not be able to provide these services. Before going to the fundamental principles, I'll tell you there are other things also which will restrict you to provide these services. to audit client. In that case, like when I talk about audit client, let's say for example, either the audit under is what you can say under the income tax act. Over there you also have the disabilities. If the audit is under companies act, over there you also have a disability. If the audit is any under other act, let's say trust, cooperative societies, over there also you have disability clauses. Over and above, if it's an insurance, banking, NBFC, you have all the SEBI and RBI regulations in picture. So already they are taking care of the conflict of interest, independence, and objectivity through their regulations. Hypothetical example, if let's say some case of audit is there which is not covered by any of the scenario, over there the fundamental principles will trigger in. Now the question comes is it something uh, the threat to the fundamental principles? In that case, what you can do, you can still proceed by applying safeguards. For example, fundraising services. Is it something which is coinciding with the financial year for which you are doing the audit? Or is it something you are doing for the previous financial year, the fundraising services being provided now? So, is there any connection with the fundraising services and the financial statement on which you are, opining, or some those are the safeguards you need to look into. You need to evaluate the threat, and accordingly, you need to proceed. Any other doubts? I hope I'm answering your questions like to your satisfaction. Uh, if no, then you can ask further questions. No, no issues in that. Okay. If no further doubts, let's take a break over here for 10 minutes. After the break, we'll gather back and continue the session. Okay. Let's take a quick 10-minute break. The session back. Okay. So we discussed the clause in detail on the fees. Okay. With an example where we understood, like, can we charge percentage of profit or any other item? And we understood the regulation 192. Okay. That was your clause 10. Now we will go to clause 11 quickly. What is clause 11? What is clause 11? Can anyone tell me what is clause 11? Very good, Geet. Yes. Anyone? Very good, Mega. Very good, Chitra. Yes, absolutely correct. Okay. So that is your clause 11. That is that if a charter accountant in practice engage in any business or occupation other than the profession of the charter accountant unless permitted by council to so engage, in that case he will be held guilty of deemed to be held guilty of professional misconduct. Now here in this particular clause we have an exception that talks about that you can be a director of the company, but that is not a managing director or whole-time director. Okay. You can be a director in that particular company unless that particular chartered accountant means you or your partner is interested in such company as an auditor. That is for sure. That if you are interested in such company as an auditor, if you are auditor of a company, can you be a director? Answer is no. That is a conflict of interest. So you can be a director till that time you are not a auditor of the company. Clear? That is clause 11. Now, here to understand, there are two things. One, engages any business or occupation. Second, other than the profession of CA. Now, this profession of CA, you can understand by definition of deemed to be in practice. If something is deemed to be practice, yes, that's a profession of a CA. But again, here the council has provided certain areas where you need to take permission before engaging in that. Okay. So there are certain areas or there are certain scenarios where you need to take the permission of the council, and that is your regulation 190A. So regulation 190A talks about, okay, where you need to take permission. Now understand one thing. Now there are multiple things covered in the deemed to be in practice. If something is already covered in deemed to be practice and regulation 190A somehow covers that also, like if you try to get the correlation might be, but rarest of the rare chance 190A is required to be followed. You need to take the permission. Okay. So you can only engage in any other thing by taking the permission of the council under regulation 190A. Now 190A talks about two type of permission. One is a general permission already given, engage yourself. Second is a special permission where you need to take a prior, or you can say permission granted generally. Okay. No specific permission from the council is necessary. You can engage. What are those things? Apart from the profession of CA. This is everything apart from the profession of a charter account. The purpose of renewal premium or renewal commission, basically. No need to take permission. Attending classes and appearing for examination, no need to take permission. Holding office of public electives, no need to take permission. Honorary office of leadership of a charitable educational institute or non-commercial organization, no permission required. Acting as a notary public, justice of peace or similar kind of scenario, no permission required. Part-time tutorship under the coaching organization of the institute, no permission required. Valuation of the paper for any examination, no permission required. Editorship of professional journal, again, no permission required. Acting as a surveyor or loss assessor, no permission required. Acting as a recovery consultant, no permission required. Owning agricultural land and carrying out agricultural activity, no permission required. So for all these scenarios, no permission is required. Clear? No specific permission is required. Any doubt?
Sir, with respect to holding the life insurance agency license for the limited purpose, getting the renewal commission, say example, which means that prior to chartered accountant, he hold the LIC agent, and that he used to receive the service commission. See, thereafter, he is not eligible to get the new policy.
Yes.
But however, whatever the policy is, he obtained earlier, for that he can claim the. This is what it's meaning, or is there any different meaning for this,
No,
sir?
same what you were saying. So if he was, before being a chartered accountant in practice, he was holding a life insurance agency before being in practice. And now, once he starts the practice or he enters into the practice, he cannot hold a life insurance agency license for the full purpose. He can still hold for the limited purpose of getting renewal commission for the policies which he have already done work in the past when he was not in CA in practice. Any other doubts? Okay. If no other doubts, then
Sir,
let's go.
here I have one more question. Part-time tutorship under the coaching organization of the institute, which means the CA can be private coaching institute other than the professional. Say example, if a college is there, in college, whether he can go and give the lecture or like that.
That I will, we will come in that. That's the next part, special one. We will go for that in special. Okay. Now we will discuss about the special resolution, specific resolution. That means over there you are required to obtain prior permission.
Sir, one question. Sorry.
Yes.
Recovery consultant is allowed. Then what would be in the case? There is also one work in market called as recovery agent in a banking sector.
Recovery agent.
Yes, recovery agent for the loans being not paid loans. So since a CA is allowed as a recovery consultant, what would be case if he is like acting as a recovery agent?
See, again, in that case, I would recommend you to check like what is the provision, like what is the actual role over there. Okay. For example, when I talk about recovery agent, okay, in that case, is it something already permissible by your management consultancy service? Because what I know, management consultancy service also use the term recovery consultant, not the agent. Okay. Consultants are different, agents are different. So in that scenario, what is the role and responsibility of the consultant or agent, you need to see, and then accordingly you need to decide. But what I understand is both are different, not the same. Even your management consultancy service use the term consultant, not the agent. Any other doubts? Okay. If no further doubts, then let's proceed with this. Okay. Special resolution where we need specific permission. Okay. Now, what is the specific? Like we are required to obtain prior approval before engaging, and prior approval from council. Now, that is number one, full-time, part-time employment in business concern. Okay. Provided you do not hold a substantial interest in such concern. So if you are getting involved full-time, part-time employment in a business concern, okay, in that case, you are required to obtain prior specific approval. Full-time, part-time employment in non-business concern. Office of Managing Director or whole-time director of a body corporate. Interest in family business concerns. Okay. Unless such interest has been acquired by inheritance, succession, or partition. Okay. So that is fine. But otherwise, if you are holding an interest in family business concern, you need to take prior permission. Interest in educational institute. Part-time, full-time lectureship for the courses other than relating to the institute's examination under the institute or the regional council or their branches. So if you are part-time, full-time lectureship for the courses other than the courses which are run by the institute's examination under the institute, you are required to take permission. Part-time, full-time tutorship under any educational institute other than the coaching institute of coaching organization of institute. Editorship of other than professional journals. Any other business of occupation for which executive committee consider that permission may be granted. So open-ended area. Okay. Now, these are the areas where prior permission is required. I think your doubt with respect to the tutorship for any other educational or college is covered by point number 7.
Sir, however, the general permission talk about the private tutorship is there. Generally, they provided, but it's specifically they're not mentioned anything about it.
See, private tutorship is like you are providing tutorship one-on-one or like 1 or 2 or 1 or 3, something like that. Like you are providing private tutorship to people. Now, here it is talking about part-time, full-time tutorship under institution, educational institute, where you are tied up with the educational institute, not directly to the students. Are you getting paid by the students? Answer is no. Are you having an arrangement with the students? Answer is no. That's why the point number 7 will cover where you are affiliated with the college. You are providing the service to, as a visiting faculty in a college. Over there, you need to take a specific permission. But if I talk about private tutorship, it's something like you are taking the fees from the students or, one-on-one coaching is there, something like that. It's a very small scale. There is no third party involved.
Okay, private tutorship. Okay, for any student, we can give the private. But
Yeah.
with the management, we should not have any such a relationship. Okay.
So for these things, specific prior approval is required. I hope it is clear. Any doubt? No? No doubts? Okay. If no doubts, then let's talk about more onto the director part here. What about CAs engage in FNO and trading activity? See, if it is a trading and FNO activity, which is a business concern, it will be kind of full-time or part-time employment in business concerns. Okay. You can say that, or full-time, part-time employment in non-business. Basically, it will be covered by specific resolution. FNO activity, FNO trading. that you need to define whether it's a full-time or part-time employment, or whether it is something different, like how you are doing it over there, how the structure is there. A lot of things are there that you need to understand for that. Any other doubts? No? Okay. So, one general doubt: if after becoming a CA who is not in practice, if I do any business, will I need to take approval? So, this particular clause is applicable to member in practice. Member in practice. So, if you see what are we are talking about, member of institute in practice. Member of institute in practice. If you are not in practice, this clause is not applicable to you. Even the regulation is not applicable to you. Yes, part 1 wholly applicable to CA in practice. Correctly. Now let's talk about director. Very important point that we need to discuss about over here is the director, because we talked about here that nothing contained herein shall disentitle a chartered accountant from being a director of a company. What do you mean by director? Not being a managing director, that is fine. You cannot be a managing director or whole-time director, but you can be a director. Now the question comes is that, okay, director, fine. I can be a director. I cannot be a whole-time director or managing director. But in that case, there are other type of directors also. Okay, let's say if I'm director, but I am paid a monthly fee, kind of a remuneration, then what? I'm a director, but I'm paid a monthly fee. And there are some specific type of directors, like, in startups and in what you can say, companies which are, having shareholders agreement, something like that. There are special provisions for special type of directors. How will you consider those positions? Anyone? For first example is, let's say I am being paid for being director on a monthly basis as a remuneration, salary kind of thing. I'm a director. I'm getting paid as a salary every month. And I'm a CE in practice also. What do you say? Anyone? No? I think it's a pretty simple question. Allowed as he's a director, not a managing director, whole-time director. Absolutely. Okay, allowed. What else?
The promoter director and that director simpliciter, they are allowed, sir.
They are allowed. Okay, fine. So will this be
But
allowed also?
which one, sir?
That I'm talking about as of now, that he is getting monthly salary.
Yes, sir. He can get the monthly salary.
He
But
can get the
provided he should not be the whole-time director or managing director of the company or executive directors.
fine. Okay.
The cooling period, maybe 1 year cooling period should be there. I think there
Okay.
is a cooling period.
Okay. Whole-time director. Okay. Very good, Chitra. Very good. Very good, Pitambar. Very good. Absolutely correct. See, now some of you are saying not a problem. He can be a director. He is not a whole-time director, managing director. Fine. Some of you are saying it could be a problem. So there are two things I would like to highlight over here. When you are getting paid as a salary, it comes under the area of employment in a business concern. You are being paid, you are employed. Simple. If you are employed, you need to take specific permission before being. Although you are a director, employment salary triggers the employment triggers the specific permission. So, as a director, you should not be accepting any amount other than the amount of meeting fees or sitting fees, whatever you call the fees that is being paid for attending a board meeting. That is fine. That is not an employment. If I'm being paid for the board meetings that I'm attending, like per board meeting some charges are there, fine, that is very good. But let's say I am taking some amount as a salary, fixed salary. That is a problem. That is a very big problem in that case.
Salary come full-time basis is not allowed, but part-time is allowed, sir.
No, even if you see specific resolution 1, full-time, part-time employment is not allowed. Even part-time employment is also not allowed.
So regulation 191, they are talking about the part-time employment is allowed in practice.
Okay. 191 does not talk about part-time employment. 191 talks about that you can work as a liquidator, trustee, executor, arbitrator, receiver, advisor, representative for costing, financial and all those matters, and may take up an appointment, okay, with the central government or state government or any legal authority as a secretary in your professional capacity, provided that this particular, that the position you are taking is not a salary come full-time basis. So it talks about certain kind of services that you provide, and over there you take up some positions to provide that service, but you are at the end not becoming a full-time. That is 191. So if I talk about this is 191. So 191 basically gives a list of areas: liquidator, trustee, executor, administrator, arbitrator, receiver, advisor, representing for cost, financial, taxation, or you may take up appointment with the central government, state government, court of law, or any other legal authority. You may act as a secretary in professional capacity, provided employment is not on salary come full-time basis. That is a very important point. Otherwise, it will not be allowed. So 191 doesn't allow you to do part-time. 191 says that, okay, these are certain services that you may provide as a CA in practice, and half of them are already covered by, if you see, deemed to be in practice. Half of them are already covered by section 2. Yes or no? So in that case, if that is already covered over there, then again, like, that is practice. 198 talks about that other than the profession of a chartered accountant, liquidator, trustee, executor, administrator can be already a professional, profession of a chartered accountant.
Which means even though there is a part-time employment, it should not be a salary come full. Then what is a mean by the salary come full-time basis?
That means
what is that?
That means it should not be salary and full-time. Salary come full-time. That means it should not be like that. That you are being paid. You are being given salary instead of professional fees, and you are fully working for them. Let's say I am a CA in practice. I don't have any client. I'm only working for this one particular government organization where they are not paying me salary, professional fees, but they are paying me salary.
Actually, here my confusion is that salary come full-time basis. The full-time is my confusion. That is the reason I'm asking for this. See here, even though it's a part-time is allowed, I assume that the part-time means the salary is allowed.
No.
See here, the full-time is confusing me. That is the reason I'm asking.
No. Full-time, here full-time, like it is also saying, it is related to these particular positions over there. If you are taking these particular positions, it should not be salary come full-time basis. It should not be on the salaried basis. That means that the intent on the basis of a salary. Okay. And if it is a salary, obviously, like whenever you are being paid salary, it is employment that is not allowed by specific resolution. Part-time employment. Even part-time is not allowed under 190A. So 190A doesn't allow part-time employment. If it is a salary, full-time, let's say it is permitted by 191, but not allowed by 190A, which is more specific. In that case, I will not be able to do it.
Yeah, 190A is specifically restricting.
Yes. So in law, we usually say there is a doctrine of priority, or you can say, the law which is more, or you can say doctrine of special, law. That is the provision which is more specific, more special will have a higher impact, or will have an overriding impact to a general provision. So this is specific one.
No. So that in 191 regulation, it is a overriding provision. It's specifically notwithstanding anything contained in regulation 190A. That's specifically overridden. 190A is not no more applicable on this particular 191.
But it only talks about salary come full time. It doesn't allow you to be a part time. See, it talks about only salary come full time basis to a limited set of that. It says that it should not be salary come part time. It is says that it should not be. So it is not allowing you. It is rather saying it should not be there. Understand the provision over there. It denies that it is specifically denied. That doesn't mean that is second one is allowed. If 191 was allowing something, then I would say it will have a overriding effect. But 191 is restricting something over and above 190. So that doesn't mean it is allowed under 191. I hope I'm clear.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So that was about the director. So the moment you take up the salary, it will become full-time engagement. And even the same, it is also there on the page number 19.81. Director simpliciter means, okay, ordinary director, simple director, who is not paid any remuneration except for attending such meetings. Okay. He is the director only required in board meetings, and he is not paid any remuneration for attending such meetings. Otherwise, it will become your employment. Okay. Now, that was basically your clause 11. Any doubt in clause 11? Okay. If no doubts, can we take a question? Let's take a quick question on clause 11. Straightforward, not difficult. Then it is quite easy one. Question is, CA Avantika, a chartered accountant holding a certificate of practice, runs her own proprietorship firm in Pune. Passionate about the education, she co-founds a private coaching institute, Apex Achievers, which prepares students for various competitive management entrance exams. CA Avantika is an active partner in this institute. She is deeply involved in the operations, including designing the curriculum, managing faculty, overseeing marketing, administrative functions. She dedicates her evenings and weekend to the institute. She believes that this activity is an education, it's a noble pursuit and does not require any specific approval. She has not sought any permission from the Council of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. Examine the professional conduct of CA Avantika in this situation. Would your answer differ if she was only a part-time visiting faculty for a few hours at a local government or recognized university? So let's go with the first one. Examining the professional conduct of CA Avantika in this situation.
She needs to get special permission because by special resolution number 5, she has an interest in an educational institution.
Absolutely correct. Very good. Very good. Yes. Even like some might write, see, when we see tutorship or education, na, people write or student might write about the clause which is about the full-time part-time tutorship. But in the question, it's not talking about that she is delivering lectures. She is into designing the curriculum. She is the co-founder of a private coaching, managing faculty. She is including into operations. Okay, so she is not delivering the lectures, rather than she has an interest. So if you write in exam that she is full-time, part-time tutorship under any educational institute, it will be wrong. You have to write about interest in an educational institute. For that, you need a specific resolution, a specific permission. That will be the correct answer.
Yes, sir. If the specific resolution is not received, then she will be the guilty of professional misconduct.
Yes, absolutely correct. Now, then in that case, tell me one thing. The second answer was, would your answer differ if she was only a part-time visiting faculty for a few hours a week at a local government recognized university?
Sir, in this case, part-time, full-time is not a matter. She is engaged in that management institution. She need to obtain the special resolution before she doing that act.
Okay. Anyone else with a different answer or something else? Anyone? With something different answer or some different thing? Yes, Pitambar. Okay, very good. Okay, very good, Geet. Anyone else with anything else? Any different answer? Okay, very good, Chitra. Very good, Priya. Very good, Sanjay. Yes. So, absolutely correct. In this particular scenario, the point number 7 will come into picture. Okay. We are talking about part-time, full-time lectureship for courses other than relating to the institute examination conducted under institute or the regional council or their branches. Okay. So here she is taking lectures part-time, full-time. It will be covered under point number 6 for courses other than relating to the institute examination. Or you can also cover like point number 7 as a part-time, full-time tutorship under any educational institute. Both are fine. You can write both. I hope it is clear. Any doubt?
If it is pertaining to our CA institute, there is no permission is needed.
Yes, absolutely correct.
Sir, what about the other professional bodies such as CS, ICAI?
No, like it's an institute. Like there is no exemption to any other professional body over here.
Only our ICAI only is exemption.
Yeah.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So that was your clause number 11 that we discussed. Now let's go to the next clause, that is clause number 12. Can anyone tell me what is clause number 12? Pretty much straightforward, easy, nothing difficult over there.
Sir, it's talk about signing the report. Other than the CA in practice, employed the partner of the firm. Even it's not allowing the employee of the firm who is certificate COP also is not allowed.
Okay,
Only
very good.
only partner in COP are allowed.
Yes. Okay, very good. Very good, Geet. Yes. Anyone else would like to add anything further to this? No? Okay. You guys are correct. Okay. Clause 12 basically talks about allowing a person not being a member of the institute in practice or a member not being his partner to sign on his behalf or on his firm's behalf. So there are only two persons allowed: a member of the institute in practice, or he should be a member being his partner. So member who is a partner and a member of institute in practice who can sign on his behalf or on his behalf of firm any balance sheet, P&L, profit and loss report or financial statements. That means you cannot allow anyone to sign on your behalf apart from a CA in practice, other CA in practice because of the joint audit. Okay. Second, a member who is your partner, because in partners, like if you are not able to sign, another partner of the firm can be signed, because I am appointing the firm as a statutory auditor, not the partner as a statutory auditor. So over there, any partner can sign who has done the audit. Okay. So this is the clause number 12. Like pretty much straightforward. There is no doubt in this particular clause. No doubt. If I talk about can I allow a member who is not in practice to sign? Answer is no, because there is specific condition. Member of the institute in practice has to sign. Can a member of institute who is not in practice be my partner? Can
Yes,
a
sir.
member of institute who is not in practice be my partner?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Allowed. Yeah, even other professional body also, that member also, the 8 members are allowed.
Okay. Anyone else with anything, any different thing to add or any different answer?
But he cannot sign the report. He allowed. Partnership is allowed, but signing is not allowed. Even employee also, even though he is certificate of practice, he is not allowed to sign.
Okay. Okay. Now I'll tell you two things. Very good, Geet. So I will bring your attention to clause 4. Clause 4, we discussed that a CA in practice can enter into a partnership with a person, like with a certain set of persons. Okay, that is CA in practice or other such person who is a member of professional body or whose qualifications are recognized. Now here, I remember at that point in time I discussed he has to be member plus in practice. Sorry, member in practice, not this one, but here. He has to be chartered accountant in practice. It is not written chartered accountant or a member. So a CA in practice can only enter into a partnership with another CA in practice. Professional bodies, separate. Qualification, separate. Over there, do you have CA? Answer is no. So you can enter into a partnership with Which person? Only if he is a CA in practice. Clause 4 does not permit only member. Does it permit? Yes or no?
No, yes, sir. Only the CA in practice only he can put it in the membership. Okay.
So CA in practice can only be in partnership with another CA in practice. I cannot be in partnership with a member who is not in practice. Now the question comes is, if a member in, like, who is not into practice, if he cannot become my partner, by that reference, if I go to by clause number 12 back, when the term partner, member not being his partner, or the way the term partner is being used over here, that directly means member in practice by virtue of clause 4. Yes or no?
Yes, sir. Pretty clear
Although it
now.
is written member not being his partner, but the problem is clause 4 doesn't allow a member to be my partner. He only allows a CA in practice to be my partner. In that case, I cannot. A member cannot be a partner unless and until he is in practice. So here, member in practice by virtue of clause 4, I have to understand partner means member in practice, not only member. So do not get confused with that. They can
So,
only
sir,
sign.
I am also wondering where, say, Regulation 53B, some of the person is allowed as a partnership. Why not the member to be become a partner?
I remember I explained in that day also in that particular session. See, there are lot many issues. Uh, First of all, allowing only member to be in practice, only member to be a partner. I have a CA firm. I have a member who is in practice. To them, just now we saw clause 10, clause 11 puts a lot of restrictions on them. Okay. Upon fees, upon engaging in any other business. Now, let's say if I put a restriction on member in practice, okay, CA in practice, this particular part, like restriction of fees, even for the, engaging in any other business. One partner in the firm cannot engage in any other business, but another partner in the firm has everything allowed. Think of that particular scenario. So that's why member only is, will create a lot of complications. And at that point in time, it will become very difficult to, have a track on the, what you can say. Let's say, for example, fees one. Okay. I say the partner who is C in practice will not charge percentage. Let's do one thing. The partner who is not C in practice, let's do engagement letter in his name and charge in percentage basis. Not good enough. So there are a lot many issues for that.
Yes, sir, right, sir. Even I remember I asked the same question. However, I am still not satisfied with that.
Yeah. No, Pitambar. Reason because this is not generalizing. See, first of all, we will see clause 2. Like we will see in second schedule a second part of this. We will see one more clause related to this in second schedule. Over there, it will complete that with respect to vouching and verification. Without vouching, if you sign, if you certify something, you will be deemed to be held guilty of professional misconduct. Now, if I allow anyone who has not verified the content to sign, by default, he will be covered by a second schedule. So we'll discuss more onto that in the second schedule.
Yes, sir. I think class for 2 or 3, I believe, in second schedule, part
Yes.
2.
So we will discuss on that in second schedule. That is there. You can say extension from the other side, which will be there. Clear? Any doubt? Any doubt? Okay. There are certain items where it is not, it is specified that it is not a balance sheet, profit and loss account, or where anyone can sign. Same we saw in, like in other clauses also, like if it is not balance sheet, profit and loss account, report on financials, there are certain other items where other can sign, other can, issue in the name of the firm. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Like audit queries and replying to
Yeah,
the email and addressing the query of the client. All these things can be done.
that can be done. So still those things are allowed. So if we talk about queries, if we talk about all these things, all are allowed, not an issue. You don't need any, like member in practice, or you don't need a partner only to sign. For those things, you can still, your manager or employees can sign on your behalf. If these are queries and where there is no assurance involved. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Again, I'll ask again, any doubt, guys. If you have any doubt, then you can ask multiple times, not an issue. Okay. So by this way, we covered our whole part one. We have covered our whole part one. Now we will go to part two. To whom part two is applicable?
So member in service.
Absolutely correct. It is applicable to member in service. Okay. Now, when I talk about member in service, look, it is pretty much straightforward. Part two is not that much difficult. Pretty much straightforward. You can come on page number 19.86, where we will start part two. The first point is, again, it is professional misconduct. It is related to the members of institute in service. Okay. The first one is simple. If you pay, allow, agree to pay, okay, directly, indirectly to any person, any share in the annulments of your employment that you have undertaken, you will be held guilty. We have discussed this point. There is nothing much difficult. That is, if you pay any amount from your salary, or if you even agree, okay, in that case, you will be deemed to be held guilty of professional misconduct. That means you are not allowed to, like get the benefit by paying the salary. Like, okay, give me a job, I'll pay the salary. Give me this work, or give me the promotion, I'll pay you the salary. No, some portion of salary. No, that you are not allowed to do. It's question of the integrity at that point in time. So it basically related to,
Clause,
yeah.
but in this clause, like in case of CA in practice, it was specifically mentioned to secure professional business such that, but here it is not given to secure or to obtain an employment. So by this, does this clause, it doesn't get it hit if we make say any personal sharing agreement in our family of our salary, then because here it is not specifically mentioned as in case of CA in practice it was mentioned there.
See, now the question comes is that when I talk about this particular clause, that you allow or pay directly, indirectly to any person, any share in annulments of the employment. Now, the term share that I'm talking about, let's say, for example, tomorrow I pay my salary to my wife. I'm not saying that I'm paying any share. It is not a share. So, what do you mean by share over here? The share means that you are paying in lieu of something, like, some commercial. That's why you are paying the share. So, the term share here has to be understood in that parlance.
Yeah, sir, I don't remember that law, but law is permitting even the spouse can directly get the salary amount from that person, employment. I don't know
Like,
which
don't,
act it's refer.
again, like, that's why, yeah, that is not a share basically.
Yeah, it's a salary. Directly, they are getting the salary from the spouse.
From the
See, when the CA in member is employed in one company, that person has, say, example, that spouse is asking, the spouse is not some dispute. Say, that person is asking the company directly pay the salary to that account. So it is allowed, actually, as per the law. I don't know which law is pertaining, but it's allowed. I am a little bit aware about that.
but the purpose of this clause over here is to not get any benefit under the employment by paying an amount. So that is an
Yeah.
intent for this particular clause.
Yeah, suppose the management, when I am appointing the CA person in the employment, okay, I will give my first month salary or half month salary or 2 months salary. Like that, it should not be there.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Clear? Any questions, any doubt on this? Clause 1. Clause 2. If you agree to accept any part of fees, profits, gains from a lawyer, charter accountant, not in practice or in practice, all, broker engaged by such company, okay, firm, person, or agent, or customer of such company. Okay, so lawyer, charter accountant, broker engaged by the company, or firm, person, agent of such company, or firm, person by way of commission or gratification. In that case, you will be deemed to be held guilty of professional misconduct. The similar thing is intent. Remember the intent over here. Okay. Intent is you should not be providing any advantage to any person by taking the amount. Let's say, for example, simple example, I am the head of taxation department in a particular company. I outsource a small taxation related matters like appearing in the department, having Form 15 CACV, something like that. I outsource these things. My company outsources. Sir, whatever work you will outsource to me, I'll pay you 10%. I said, fine. For that, this clause 2 is there. Similarly, let's say I am the head of procurement department. Now there is a broker who helps me, or who's engaged by the company, who helps in the procuring the material, raw material. Now the broker came to me, okay, sir, give me more contracts for the brokering. I will pay you 10%. Or if there is a customer, like I'm in the sales department, customer comes to me that, okay, give me a good discount. I'll pay you the percentage of the discount as an amount. That is something being discussed over here, that the intent is you should not be getting an amount and by way of commission or gratification, so that you provided the service or you allowed that person to deal with the company. Clear?
Right, sir. The similar provision we have at the part 1 also for the practice. Class 2 and 3 talk about this.
Yeah. That is clause 1 and clause 2 of part 2. Pretty straightforward, nothing difficult that we have discussed. That is only part 2. That's it. Part 2 done. Over. Now part 3. Member in general, irrespective of you are in practice, you are in service, you are doing whatever. If you are a member of institute, you are covered by the part 3. And again, it is the professional misconduct. Remember that. We will discuss in the end what do we mean by professional and other misconduct. Okay. Clause 1, we already discussed. Not being a fellow, acts as a fellow. Remember? In previous lecture, we discussed about not being a fellow of institute, acts as a fellow of the institute. Clause 1.
Yes, sir. We discussed it.
With an example also.
Yes,
Clause
sir.
2, pretty straightforward. That if you do not provide the information called for by the authorities of the institute, that means it committees, institute itself, council, then committees, okay, then director discipline, board of director or board of discipline, disciplinary committee, quality review board, or appellate authority. But the main point is, do not supply the information called for or does not comply with the requirements asked for. If you do these things, you are held guilty of professional misconduct, deemed to be held guilty directly. Clear? Any doubt? Any doubt? No?
It's clear, sir. It's straightforward.
Straightforward. Even the clause 3 now is straightforward. That while inviting the professional work from another charter accountant, or while responding to tenders, or while advertising through write-up or anything which is provided in clause 6 and 7 of part 1 of the schedule that we have discussed in detail, means being a charter accountant, a member of institute, you give false information knowing it to be false. Like knowingly you provide false information. If I summarize this, it is member providing false information to others. I will write in bracket excluding institute. Can anyone tell me why I'm excluding institute or its authorities or its, like whatever we have discussed? Why I'm writing excluding institute or authorities? Anyone? Absolutely correct, Geet. Very good. Very good, Priya. Yes, absolutely correct. Why am I excluding? Come on, quickly. Pretty easy. There already.
No, sir. Could not recollect from my side.
I will cover right now with that. Reason because when we will go to the part 2, when we will go to the part 2 of second schedule, this is part 2 of second schedule. Over there, if you go to clause number 3, this is clause 3. It talks about that if you provide any information which is false, so if you provide information statement written form which is knowing them to be false to the institute, second schedule will be applicable. Second schedule, part 2, clause 3 will be applicable over there.
Okay, sir. The punishment will be heavy on that.
Higher, yes. The punishment will be heavy and higher if that is a scenario. That's why I have written excluding institute, because for them, part 2, clause 3 is applicable. So you can write for reference. Refer clause 3, part 2, second schedule. Clear? Any doubt?
Yes.
And the last is your part 4. It was straightforward. Part clause 3 was straightforward. Nothing difficult over there. Part 4, now here the point you need to focus upon, it's an other misconduct. So when you are writing an exam where the part 4 is there, you have to specify specifically that the member of the institute, whether in practice or not, shall deemed to be guilty of other misconduct. This particular line that I'm talking about. This one. Make sure you write this line the way it is. Okay. And the important part over here is this one. Other misconduct. Deemed to be guilty of other misconduct, not professional misconduct, not only misconduct. There is a difference. Okay. What the clause says, that if a member is held guilty by any civil and criminal court where the imprisonment is less than 6 months, imprisonment for term less than 6 months by civil or criminal court, simple, you will be deemed to be guilty of other misconduct. Second, if you bring a disrepute to the profession or the institute as a result of action whether or not related to professional work, means professional plus personal both. So this means professional plus personal both, whether or not related to the professional work, and that is true in the opinion of counsel. If counsel says that you have brought disrepute, you will be guilty, deemed to be guilty of other misconduct. So disrepute to the profession or to the institute. That is your clause 2.
Sir, I need one clarity. In the schedule 1 and 2 also, in all the class, they say deemed is a word is there, deemed to be. Why there is a deemed to be? It's straight away guilty.
Deemed to be. I'll see. What is misconduct? Misconduct is something you go against the law. Okay. And if you do something against, and if I talk about misconduct is something which has to be proven. Like we have a provision in the law, like it is like it will be counted as innocence until and unless it is proven guilty. Okay, till that time, if you are not proven by the court or by any tribunal, it is that person is innocent, not guilty of anything. But here, if you do anything, this clause, or if you do anything which is specified by the clause itself, like let's say, for example, if you bring dispute to the profession or the institute, you talk about any other law or regulation, let's say Indian Penal Code or something, the new one. It is not there, but still here you will deemed to be, because you have done this act. That's why the term deemed to be is there.
It means until and unless proven non-guilty.
Sorry?
Deemed to be implies that he is guilty until proven not guilty.
No. So deemed to be guilty means these are not kind of criminal or civil offenses which are covered under the Indian civil or criminal laws. These are the kind of misconduct covered under this particular act, or even schedule of the act. As a result, that's why the term deemed to be is used. Any other questions? Any other doubt?
No, sir. Thank you, sir.
So if no further questions, no further doubt, we have covered our first schedule in detail with questions. Yes or no? Any question with respect to first schedule, anywhere, anything you can ask. Okay. If no questions, then what are you required to do for the second schedule? A good reading is required. So in next session, I will be covering second schedule. And trust me, second schedule will take up much less time compared to the first one, because first one is much lengthier compared to the second one. Along with that, we will try to cover the other council general guidelines which are there, okay, with this second schedule, because that is really important. Okay, I want you to read all these things that I'm talking about. Be prepared with the questions. Have a first reading, and on a weekly basis, at least practice 3 to 4 questions. Write it down. Practice is necessary. Do not forget that. Only reading will not be sufficient. You have to write, practice. Okay. So perform these tasks and be ready for the next session. Okay, we will discuss the second schedule and forward. If no further doubts, then guys, please provide your feedback about the sessions. Okay, if anything you need further, if any changes you need or anything you like or do not like, okay, please provide your feedback. That is really important for us. And thank you for participating in the today's session. Thank you.
Sir, one question is like
Yes.
Saransh also underway for audit or not?
Saran, sorry.
Saransh is also under process for audit subject, like other subject indirect IDT we have Saransh. Is it under process? Or?
So I think Saransh is already there. One version is there and the another version is under update. So one version is already there.
Yeah, I could see one version on the other Saranj is there. There is that link. It is provided something.
Yeah.
Not direct to the CA final.
Yes, because I think the updated version is about to come, but there is already one version available on the BOS portal.
So thank you so much, sir. You are taking the classes very lively and you are giving the explanation and examples, which really help us to understand the subject in detail, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, everyone. So thank you for participating. I'll see you in the next session. Thank you. Yes.